Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Kim. This is Kim's Wellness Space. I'm so pleased that you pressed play and that you are listening. If you're new, you're very welcome. There's loads of other podcasts to get involved in. If you're here regularly, thank you so much for coming back. Now, as you know, I love everything wellness, and I could talk to you all and probably do for hours about all the different layers of wellness, how it affects us, and it just goes on. It's such a big conversation. But you also know that I love a guest. So I'm really excited today because I have a guest and I'm going to bring her into the studio now. So if you're watching on Instagram, you'll be able to see. So this is Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I love having a guest. It's always nice to bounce off somebody else, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's start just with the basics. Who are you? What do you do generally day to day? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Great, thank you. So I'm Sarah. I do a bit of a mixed bag. My main sort of area of focus is therapy. So mum of three grown-ups now. Always had an interest in therapy. Game-changing really from a health point of view over the years. Lots of kind of health challenges and realised that they were really due to suppressed emotions. So that kind of got me on my journey with health. So what I do at the moment, I am a retreat facilitator. I do meditation, teach meditation on a weekly basis, do one-to-ones. Also, I'm a Reiki therapist and an EFT practitioner. I also work with a company who does something called bioenergetic medicine, which is basically taking a sample of hair, analysing the body, finding out the root cause, which is for me massive. Everything in life that goes out of balance has got a root cause somewhere. So it's about finding that, correcting it, and the rest of the body comes back into balance.
So it sounds amazing. Yeah, it sounds amazing. So much. And like all of those little threads, they actually all join together, which is what I love about this. It doesn't matter what subject matter we start with, we always end up finding those threads of everything else and it all comes together. So it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So what I know that you had a journey. I know you're on a journey with your health personally. So what happened to you for you to be able to say, actually, no, something's got to change. I need to do something different.
Yeah, totally. Well, growing up, my mum had cancer probably from, I think about my age of 2 or 3, roughly. Just remember sort of back and forward going into hospital, me going off to stay with grannies while she had treatment. And so then fast forward to the age of about 16, or teenage years rather, sort of 13, 14, lots and lots of really bad throat problems, lots of strep throats. And I now know that's communication. You're not communicating. What do you want to say? Why are you not saying it? What are you not able to say? Do you know that you can have a voice and actually use it? So started in natural health at that stage, going to homeopaths, aromatherapists, and found, I guess, what I would call coping strategies. Nothing was really getting to the root cause. Tea tree oil was great because it helped to, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. That was good. But I kept coming back to getting these recurrent throats. Yeah. So, as I say, fast forward on to the age of about 16, mum passed away. And then I realised that I started to get stomach problems. Horrendous pain in my stomach, couldn't understand what was going on, panic attacks. And this probably went on through to about the age of 20s, mid-20s, before I really started going to the doctor thinking, this is not normal. There's something going on here. And obviously panicking in case I was going to be following in my mum's footsteps. That was the main thing, what's going on here, knowing what that particular cancer wasn't hereditary. There was always a but, in there, or could be.
Yeah.
So went to doctors, consultants. They ended up, long story short, diagnosing me with ulcerative colitis. It's really bad, really inflamed. I'm like, what's caused this? Well, we don't really know. I thought, we don't really know, and then I thought back to mum with her cancer. What caused it? We don't really know. And there was too much kind of uncertainty for me then. Yeah. Anyway, still going through the natural practitioners. No one could actually get to the root cause. It was always very much symptomatic based. We'll treat the symptoms, we'll give you this, take that for 3 months and come back and see me. So take it for 3 months, feel grand, feel great. And then at the end of the 3 months, I'd go back and symptoms would start to come back again.
Yeah.
I thought there's just something not right here. There's more to this picture. There's got to be more to it. So I started getting into therapy in and around that stage, doing a lot of Reiki, and that was good. But again, it was almost like there was something there that just wasn't getting to the root cause. So I ended up, someone had recommended the company that I work with today, funnily enough, on bioenergetic medicine, and said, have a look at this company, see what they do. They get to the root cause of what's going on. So I went along, and for the first time in my life, it was as though I was heard. The doctors, the surgeons that I'd been to were ready to operate on me, basically. So this was my so-called last-ditched attempt. I'm like, right, I'm going to go along here, find out what's going on. It's an investment, but at the end of the day, you know what? You have to invest in yourself. If you don't, you may potentially not be here. So
Yeah.
made that decision, went along, had a test done, and Rosalie, our founder at that stage, explained every single symptom that I had, literally with a piece of hair. Could not believe it. I was blown away. She said I had a bacteria in my gut that was eating away at me. And I thought, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I got
Goodness.
some minerals. Yeah, got some minerals, got some supplements, brought the body back into balance, which was great, felt amazing. However, there was still something going on emotionally within the system. So then jumped onto a bit of a journey of kind of inner wellness, I guess, a search kind of deep into my emotions, my thoughts, what was going on. And as I was going through the next few years, discovered emotional freedom technique. Now, for me, that was like peeling the layers off an onion. I started and was working on one issue, and all of a sudden, as I cleared that issue, it was like Pandora's box. Something else came up and something else came up, which was great because it was getting to the root cause of things. However, throughout the years, there were still bits and pieces that just didn't feel fully balanced. And it literally wasn't until last year, believe it or not, all these years later, that someone had suggested, what about grief counselling? And I went, yeah, grief counselling, great. Lots of people have done it. And they said, have you ever tried it? And I went, well, no, but I'm a therapist. And, I've done this, I've done that, I've done the other. And they said, yeah, but has anyone actually worked on that specific issue with you? Well, no. So gave it a shot, jumped on board. And for me, that was almost like the final piece, because I think for years and years, you grow up and people are ill round about you. There's lots of pressure on dad, lots of pressure on brother, to try and support mum through her journey. So it's not about, I wasn't heard, but actually maybe a little bit of me wasn't heard. That kind of inner child was just really suppressing and getting on with things. So I think with doing the grief counselling last year, it really made me realise that I had suppressed all these emotions, or a good chunk of them, and literally they were eating away at me. So it wasn't until I really started to look at them and release them. And gosh, the release was almost like a volcano. It came and it emptied. And although I thought I was fine, there was still an element bubbling away there that just wasn't. So
Yeah. Wow. There's so much there, isn't there? I want to take you kind of right back to where you said that you started doing things for yourself, and how empowering that you were able to stay in that moment where you were poorly and obviously in a lot of pain, and say, actually, do you know what? I need to go and find out for myself something a bit more, because there's so many people out there that are ill and don't have that that they just don't have it within them to go and find out. And they do exactly what you say. They take the pill for the symptom, but they never get below to actually what's causing. So like, well done you for actually being able to stand there in that moment and say, do you know what, I need to go and find out a bit more. But when you were trying those things like the tea tree oil and the different, when you did you believe that any of them were going to help, or was it more of a desperate kind of like, I'll just try anything, let's just see?
Yeah, I think for me, you're right, because I didn't know anything about it. Yeah, I think mum was always medical, you know, as in having cancer. She was going down very much the medical route, as you would have done back then, going back. Yeah, for me, I was willing to try anything, because the main thing was I knew that that pattern could not repeat. And I felt it was starting to repeat. And I thought, how do I break this cycle? So it's almost like the gates of the compound had opened, you know, and I was this dog that had been stuck in this area, and I thought, I'm out, I'm free, and I need to go and hunt. It's almost like I needed to hunt for survival, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's quite a big statement, but yeah, I was desperate, and I was not going to rest until I found what was at the root cause, because for me, now I know there's a root cause with everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so powerful, isn't it? Once you realize that. And I know, like, just for me personally, with the clients that I work with, you know, I'm about optimal health for everything. And there's lots of layers, but most people that start their journey, they're just concentrating on losing weight. And that really isn't, it's not really about what they're doing. It's just what they focused in on. And it's amazing how many people think that they have the answer, but they haven't even done any inner work. They don't even know why they want to lose that weight. And so I always try and bring people back to like finding out the why. And it's the same with this, isn't it? That, you know, you have to unpick, like you said, and so many times the stuff that we've had locked up in us, we need to release it. It's so fascinating.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think even in daily work, with patients, clients moving forward, or rather moving them forward on their journey, it's going back through their full history. And okay, it might be a stomach issue, it might be a bowel issue, and you know, it's going back to that metaphysical. You know, very rarely do we just have a physical problem, unless we've had an accident or something like that. There's always a mental and emotional. And even sharing with people now, you know, taking them back on that journey to say, okay, well, this happened and that happened. And it's not about ruminating on it. It's not about going back there. It's not about living it. It's just about recognizing and going, okay, that's there. That was the trigger. Let it go. The past is gone. We can't do anything about it. The future's still to come. You know, we think about the past, we get depressed. We think about the future, we get anxious. All we've got is the moment and what we can do within that moment. And giving people, I think, that information in daily practice now, to know that actually it's okay. You know, we've got you, you've got you. And actually there is a way forward. Things can change within a split second.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's amazing, isn't it? How I just find it fascinating how clever our bodies and our brains are. You know, I'm 52 and I've been practicing yoga quite a long time now. You know, I help lots of other people. I would say I'm quite an aware person about what my body likes, what it doesn't like. And I practice yoga regularly. So I have that space. I do meditation. I do all the stuff. And it was only last month that I found that actually one of the things that I do is that I emotionally monitor. And I hadn't realized that I've been doing, and I've been doing this my whole life, and I've only just realized that I've been doing it. So I kind of dug in a bit more, found out about it, and then I realized that actually pretty much everything that came out of my mouth was this emotional monitoring of other people. And I said to my husband last week, I don't actually have any conversation for you today, because all the things that I would normally say, they're just like the checking. And he was like, oh, thank goodness that you've noticed. Like, so he knew already. And it's amazing, isn't it? And yeah, I've lived my life. I'm quite, you know, I'm not a depressed person, quite happy. But yeah, that all can be going on while you're kind of living life. It's amazing how our bodies can suppress things. And yeah, so freeing once you find them.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just getting into the habit of not not packing things away, saying it, because the minute you start packing it away, it's like having a glass that's half full. We start off and you pack a little bit of this in, a little bit of that, another, you maybe have a disagreement with somebody, your upline, your downline's challenging you, and then all of a sudden the glass is full and it erupts. And then it's this massive, massive big deal, almost like I can't cope, or you blurt out. It's about being able to have that open communication, which is so, so important. And like I said at the start, the throat's all about blocked communication. If you don't deal with that, what happens? It goes further down into the stomach, into the gut. It gets bigger and it's eating away at you. And the words that we use, the thoughts that we have, that's all energy. Our bodies are all energy. The universe is energy. What energy are we putting in there? Quite often we're in the habit of maybe not saying the best about ourselves, not saying the best maybe about others. And all these words have energy. Massively important.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? The words that we use about ourselves, that we think, we sometimes we say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to our best friend or even our worst enemy. And you just think, why would I say that about myself? That's a terrible thing. It is all about being aware, isn't it? As soon as you are aware of it, you can kind of stop it, reframe it. So if there's somebody listening to this today who is really poorly or has got pain or is feeling a bit overwhelmed, how would you suggest they take that first step to maybe taking a bit of control and finding out for themselves?
Yeah, first off, I would say it's about taking a moment for you, taking some space for you, slowing down and actually stopping if you can. And I know that the way things are with life now, obviously we're all charging around, we're looking at other people, but it's about taking that still point for you. Now that might be, if your mind is busy, it might just be you're out having a walk in nature, tuning into bird song, standing on some ground outside. Grounding is so important. Very often our heads can be in the clouds. That's the saying, oh, he or she, their head's in the clouds. And very often, we do, because we feel disconnected. So important that we're grounding on the earth. So getting out onto grass, making sure obviously there's nothing on the grass, bees, what have you, that you're going to stand on or get stung, and just standing there for a few minutes. If you can't stand, you can sit down, but just taking a moment to focus on the breath, the breathing, and just allowing that still point to come in. There are so many free resources out there, as you and I know. So it's maybe jumping on a YouTube like yourself, or jumping on, finding somebody that's doing a little bit of gentle yoga, a little bit of meditation, literally hitting that search bar on the internet, peace, tranquility, meditation. There's meditations for 3 minutes, there's meditations for 3 hours. Don't know if I'd recommend a 3-hour meditation to begin with, but even, some people that can't sit still, I can't sit still for meditation. Walking meditation, that's another thing, is pop in, headset, get out there, mindfulness, be mindful of where you are, just getting that point where you can actually slow down and start to breathe again, I would say, is the first important step. And then once you start to create that space, if you do manage to do a little bit of meditation, it's almost like avenues will start to open up. You'll maybe start to hear people saying things in a different way. And perhaps that friend's given you the same advice for 20 years, but because you've been so busy, you haven't heard it. So and reaching out to people, reaching out to friends, reaching out to contacts, and even social media, okay, there's a lot of interesting things, shall we say, in social media, but there's also a huge amount of good information out there as well. So, and just being gentle to yourself, not beating yourself up. Again, as I mentioned a short time ago, it's about coming back to your still point, coming back to the moment where we are now. We've all made mistakes. I tend to say that we don't make mistakes, we have learning opportunities. Unless we continue to make them over and over again, and then it's, but so it's not about worrying about that. It's not about thinking too much about the future. It's just, what can I do in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes for me? And that will absolutely start to create a change.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I just want to come back to the mindfulness bit that you mentioned, because that is so powerful. And I know that, there might be people listening to us that are like, oh, well, I've got kids and I go to work and I've got do my husband and the washing and blah, blah, blah. And I don't have time for that. But actually, you can bring it right back to the smallest thing. And the example that I like to use is having either your cup of tea or a cup of coffee, whichever you prefer. And how many times do we make that coffee and sip it while we're doing something else? And I always say to my clients, like, get that cup of tea and don't do anything else. Just drink that cup of tea. Notice if it's hot or cold. Notice what it smells like. Feel it going down. Like, it doesn't take long to drink a cup of tea. And even if you only manage half the cup, you've had that. It doesn't have to be massive, does it? You can always bring it back just for that moment.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And it's amazing, the change. As soon as you've done that one, it's a bit addictive, isn't it? It's like, well, that worked. Maybe I could just stretch it a little bit longer, a little bit longer.
I think that's it, spot on. It's about playing about with it. What happens is as adults, we lose that inner child. But that inner child is so, so important because that inner child is still within us, which is funny, actually, because the picture I've got on my phone at the moment is of me as, gosh, I don't know how old I would have been, maybe about 3. And I'm standing with my grandma and a dog. And I've now got that as my screensaver to remember that inner child within me. And actually what I'm doing, the journey that I'm now on, this chunk in my 50s, is actually, it's really about that inner child. So interesting. Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really good idea. Maybe we should challenge all the people that are listening today to go and update their picture on their phone to something that makes them filled with joy, just like that, a sparkle from their childhood. That's lovely.
Absolutely. And even going back to what you said about the mindfulness piece, what I would recommend is even having a shower, that busyness, you're in the shower, take a moment, the water's coming down. Water is a cleanser. So you could even think about, as the shower starts, washing away all of yesterday, or if we're doing it at night, washing away the day, cleansing, purifying, setting ourselves up for the next day. Mindfulness, shampoo. What does it feel like in our hands? What's it like in our hair? What does our skin feel like? And again, it's just, we're getting out of our heads for a little bit. We're just allowing that kind of still point.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Now, I want to talk to you about retreats, because I know that you do retreats. So tell me about the retreats.
Okay, so we are hosting a retreat down in Devon, 27th of June through until the 1st of July. Beautiful house called Colleton Hall, set in woodlands, gorgeous part of the world. The house has been fully renovated and it's absolutely stunning. Beautiful lake. What we're going to be doing, we are going to be doing meditation. We are going to be doing yoga, teaming up with the beautiful Sarah Caswell of Kind Connection Yoga. She's come along with me. We used to work together many, many moons ago. So it's lovely that we've got that connection back together again.
Yeah, fabulous.
We are going to we've got beautiful local chefs on board. So it's all about, it's getting that balance back in, nourishing nature. So whereby we're in a lovely part of the world, we are treating ourselves, beautiful surroundings, surrounded by nature, beautiful experiences, but also beautiful food coming in as well by chefs that we have chosen, because they are very mindful of what they do and they hold a high, what's the word I'm looking for? They've got a very high standard in the food that they produce, but it's very much from a heartfelt point of view. That's what I want to say. We'll have lots of other activities on site as well. We're just finalising things. We're doing a beautiful forest walk from a gentleman who actually does quite a lot of talks on radio, I am led to believe. So he's going to come and share a bit about nature, which again, it's about getting into nature. It's about that grounding element and giving people tools that they can actually take with them, take back home with them, rather than just coming for a 4-day retreat and you go home and then you think, well, what can I do? It's about giving them a toolkit that they can then use within their daily lives. If there is any situations that perhaps they need to grab into that toolbox, that will be readily accessible for them.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And so can anyone go, or do you have to be someone that's done yoga and meditation before? Absolute beginners?
Absolute beginners. Yep, absolute beginners. There's not going to be any wild yoga. It's going to be very much very gentle stretches with yoga. The same with meditation. Again, very, very gentle. If you've never done meditation before, that's okay. Not going to be an issue at all. So absolutely welcome to all. We have got 6 rooms within the main house. And we're also opening it up to day guests as well. So the Saturday and Sunday will be open for day guests for anyone that perhaps can't manage the full weekend.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Oh, I hope you get lots of people signing up. I'm sure you will. I'll make sure that I put all the details in the show notes as well, so that if people want to know more, they can go find out about it. That's lovely. So I just wanted to ask you also about your personal meditation practice. So what does that look like, and how long did it take you to get to where you are today with your meditation?
So life happens. So, you know, as you will know, the best laid plans, you think, okay, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to do whatever. It's not about beating yourself up, is what I have learned. It took me 50 odd years to work that one out. But it's about going with the flow. So it might be that, okay, I'll choose to get up in the morning. I'll do a lovely 20 minutes, is give or take kind of what I would do in the morning, 20-minute meditation, clear the mind, balance the body, energize the body. By doing that, it actually creates more space within my day. My day flows a lot better. If challenges do arise, I seem to be able to manage them, cope with them a lot better. I'm much more proactive rather than reactive. But as I say, life happens. If it's the case that I can't get that done, perhaps someone will suddenly say, do you want to come for a walk? And I'll think, well, I need to do this, that, and the other. But yeah, do you know what? I'll go for a walk. So again, going back to the mindfulness meditation, it might be that, where I'll say, okay, I'll come for a walk. We'll just have a nice quiet walk together, and I'll get my time there. So again, it's about maybe looking at the trees. It's about looking at the river. So it doesn't have to be hard and fast. You know, it doesn't have to be structured by these set rules. I think within the world now, it's interesting times, very interesting times, but knowing or having the thought that you have to conform to something, it's like, I'm not doing it. You know, I'm a Gemini. I'm like, I'm out of here. Absolutely not doing that if I have to conform to it. It's how can I do it kind of creatively? How can I do it perhaps in my way? How can I do it differently? So as I say, yeah, daily practice. Normally it would be in the morning, but if it's not in the morning, it can be taken 5 minutes out. I can be driving somewhere. I'll maybe pull over if it's an extremely busy day, and I'll just have that space, time, and moment. It might be 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than no minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And I also love that you said that you don't have to fit in. It's that fitting in a box, isn't it? I hate that. Like, I want to get that box and put it over there. No, I'm not interested. I don't like it. If someone puts a label on me, I'm like, no, I'm going to do it differently now. When we changed our way of eating from being fully on carnivores to completely whole food, plant-based, we just call ourselves vegans now because it's just easier for people to understand. But I found it really frustrating, and I was really resistant to the fact that people kept wanting to put a label on it. Like, why could I not just eat what I wanted to eat? Why did I have to have a label? Why did I have to explain it? Why did I have to, validate what I was doing? And to begin with, we did that almost every day, apologized, now I've got to the point where I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not here for that. I'm not a label. I don't fit in a box. This is me. Like it, don't like it. That's up to you. Which also is very freeing, isn't it? So it's really nice to hear you say that. Like, there's so many people that say, oh, I can't meditate. I couldn't sit still for half an hour. And it's like, well, do a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you don't have to do it for half an hour, do you? We don't live in caves. We're not hermits. Life happens, as you say. So yeah, it's really refreshing to hear somebody else say that. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not beating ourselves up, because life happens, universe happens. We will get that chance. It might be that perhaps it's maybe not today, and that's okay, because perhaps there's something maybe else that comes in that needs our attention. It's quite freeing when we can just start to actually let go. And Mel Robbins actually has a great statement. She says, let them, somebody's given us a label, let them. Somebody's saying, oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, let them. Somebody's saying, oh, you've not been to the gym in ages. That's fine. Or their opinion of you. Let them. The minute we let them, it's almost like that charge goes. We are decharging. It goes. So yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. It's so powerful, isn't it? I really love that. I really love that. So is there anything else? Where can people find you? Is there anything else you want to tell our
So
listeners?
yeah, at the moment, the website is under construction, so we're not quite fully there with that. So I would say journey page. So I'm all about journeying. I love to travel, but journey is also journey into ourselves. So you will find me on Journey with Sarah Ann on Facebook and on Instagram. And I'll pop the link there to the website as and when we've got that done, which will hopefully be quite soon.
Yeah, that's lovely. And have you got a link that you can share with me if people want to get involved with the retreat?
Absolutely, yes. Get that over to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll put that all in the show notes. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I've loved chatting to you. It's been really interesting. I hope our listeners have enjoyed it as well. So thank you so much.
Likewise, thank you so much for your time today, Kim. It's been fun.
Very welcome. Okay, thank you all so much for listening today. I hope that has sparked something within you. Maybe you want to go off and try a bit of mindfulness. Maybe you want to take that example that Sarah shared and change your picture on your mobile phone so that's something that brings you joy, something that reminds your inner child to have a giggle. And maybe if you do, share it on Instagram and tag us in. We'd love to see it. I will make sure that everything that we talked about is in the show notes so you can get involved and you can come find us. But thank you so much for listening, and I will speak to you all very, very soon.